From the frozen streets of Minneapolis right into the belly of the beast, Mayor Jacob Frey was recently on Fox and Friends, and he coldly laid out the reality of the authoritarian situation in his home state. And he left them speechless, as you're about to see. Welcome to Occupy Democrats, and please hit that subscribe button if you also can't imagine how we went from this to this.
You would be worried if your grandpa started acting like this. You would. I mean, right? You'd like call up your brother, your cousin or something and be like, have you seen grandpa lately? What are we going to do?
In our featured story today, Mayor Jacob Frey dropped by Trump's state TV and methodically addressed the current crisis in his home state. And it was a great win for the away team, as you'll see in just a second. Belligerence, on Fox, that's standard operating procedure, especially when faced with a guest possessing a strong voice. Well, for example, Congressman Maxwell Frost recently got a face full of Fox-infused belligerence from Will Cain and came back swinging. Now, in our featured clip today, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey took a decidedly different approach, but both are victories for the good guys in bad waters.
One, Renee Nicole Good was not given due process. That ICE agent was jury and executioner in that moment for that woman. But number two, and this is very, very important, within minutes, do you know who the first person to come out and label someone in this was? It was this administration. When Kristi Noem, when Stephen Miller came out and labeled Renee Nicole Good
going to say, but let's just suggest
and that
for
is,
a moment.
Wait,
we all understand your point that they called her a domestic terrorist, but you have met tit for tat. You have simply done the exact same thing that you are condemning Noem for doing. You are calling an officer a murderer.
It is not about tit for tat, because here's the thing. It is DHS themselves that are saying they're the ones that are going to do the investigation. They're the ones that are going to look into it and do due process and look and see if it's justified killing of Renee Nicole Good. Then you have the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, the person who's supposed to be on top of this investigation.
With all due respect, I'm not going to allow you to filibuster. We have a limited amount of time together. The question is whether or not you believe in due process. You have gotten your point out that you believe it was wrong for the administration to define her as a domestic terrorist. But you're here today talking to me about due process, and I'm concerned about your fidelity or understanding of due process when you deem an innocent man, innocent until proven guilty is part of the United States Constitution, when you deem an innocent man a murderer, and you were an elected official. Let's focus on you. You are an elected official with very little evidence. All you have is a viral video. And you condemned the man, who, by the way, I think you are liable. I think I would be careful if I were you, Congressman, for defamation. You, Steve Kerr, Doc Rivers, anyone else, I think you should be careful because you have crossed over the line of defamation. But for our purposes here today,
I'm not going to be careful in terms of calling out.
I think you have no fidelity to due process.
Oh, yes, I do. And the fact of the matter is, and I'll say it again and again and again and again, Renee Nicole Good did not get the due process that she deserves. I will say that the officer deserves due process. I am also going to call out what I saw in the video, and I'm 100% in my right to do so. But the issue is that when you have the person in charge of the investigation that's supposed to get us the truth to this, coming out minutes after we learned about this, calling her a domestic terrorist, not even a shred.
I know that you're shifting. We're talking about you and your language, and you're shifting it away to someone else and what they had to say.
And
it's not a very good defense
come out
tactic.
And say, I want to finish my point. Not even a shred of humanity from this administration to come out and say, we're going to look at what
something you think is wrong by doing the exact same thing. Before you go, Congressman, I'm up against this item. I know, and it's sad. It's a tragedy. And on that, we agree. I just want to ask you a human question.
And I'm glad you're saying that, Will. But the administration wouldn't even say that minutes after it happened.
Be a human.
Yeah, he seems pretty human to me. Now, in a contrast of styles, well, here's our featured clip today, a voice of reason in the cacophony that is Fox and Friends and all the nonsense that comes with that. Mayor Jacob Frey uses compassion and logic to disarm and persuade. Please check this out.
So he is threatening to pull funding from sanctuary jurisdictions that have policies such as Minneapolis. Your reaction?
We have a separation ordinance in the city, and you know what that ordinance says? It says that I want our limited numbers of police officers focusing on keeping people safe. arresting perpetrators of violent crimes, stopping car thefts from taking place. That's what I want them focusing on. You know what I don't want them focusing on? Hunting down a dad that just dropped his kids off at daycare, is about to go work a 12-hour shift, who happens to be from Ecuador. That guy makes our city a better place. So again, if we're talking about arresting violent criminals, Minneapolis does not oppose that, but that's not what is taking place in the streets of our city. People who are American citizens.
I appreciate the compassion.
I want to say this again. American citizens are being taken off our streets right now, and I hope any American citizen out there can understand how concerning that is.
I appreciate
freedom.
your
We should be about freedom in this country. We should be about liberty. And when you are an American citizen that is being picked up by a federal agent of any administration, we should all be saying, you know what, let's take a beat, let's think this through. Maybe this isn't right.
There's two sides to this story. You mentioned an Ecuadorian migrant. Are you familiar with Victoria Eileen Harwell? An Ecuadorian illegal immigrant in August of 2024, driving drunk, crashed head-on into Victoria Harwell, killing her. Her 14-year-old daughter survived, and her sister. ICE released her, local Hennepin County released her not once but twice and didn't cooperate with ICE detainers. Why not? Since you're in favor of removing them, cooperate with ICE. Whether you have this sanctuary policy that the DHS says it is, you call it a separation ordinance. Why not just cooperate and make it safer for everyone involved? The community, the officers, and even the migrants.
My position here is pretty straightforward, and that's this. If you commit a crime, if you commit fraud, if you commit a carjacking or a murder, you should be investigated, charged, prosecuted, held accountable, and yes, arrested and put in jail. That is my position if you commit a crime and you are a problem on the streets of the city of Minneapolis that has made us less safe. What I am saying is that a lot of the people that ICE is picking up right now in our city are not a problem for Minneapolis. They've opened businesses. They've been here for longer than I've been here. They contribute so beautiful and greatly to our city. They have families here. They're our neighbors, and yeah, we love them. We love them and we care about them. And I hope that people throughout the country can understand that, you know, we got to be thinking about other people as if it were ourselves. You know, what would we do in these situations? How would we handle ourselves?
Well, we certainly need as many good guys as we can get. And, well, there are two right there kicking butt in Minnesota. So let's give Congressman Maxwell Frost the last word on what it means to be a true patriot. Not some phony baloney Fox contrivance.
If you can't come to the mic, no matter your political party, no matter what you come for, and express just a shred of humanity, you are not a patriot. You do not love this country, and you do not love its people.